How do we start? ये मान गए ये बहुत ही अच्छा
इसलिए थोड़ा यहाँ
Shall we start? Well, friends, we are here to discuss the life of a text, Ramcharitmanas. Actually, there are two texts in India, both epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, who have a life which is rarely available to any other epics in the West. Today, as we sit here, maybe in the evening, there'll be at least 5,000 performances taking place all over the country, which either relate to Ramayana or to Mahabharata. So these are not texts, scholarly texts, confined to libraries and annotations and such like. They are living texts. And they undergo many, many changes while in this process of performance, singing, what you have. But we have a very unusual thing happening, as my friend Philip has translated. I started translating Ramcharitmanas of Tulsidas. This is the 10th translation. 9 translations already exist in English. This is the 10th one. And as you can see, it's very beautifully printed in the Murthy Classical Library of the Harvard University. It is Narayan Murthy's son, Rohin Murthy, who has given endowment to the university, and under which many classics are being translated. What is important, that many of these classics belong to non-Sanskrit Indian languages, which is happening for the first time. Otherwise, it's thought that in the Indological paradigm, most of the times, everything was being translated from Sanskrit. So this is an unusual series, and our friend has done 2 volumes. It's going to be 12, did you say?
7.
7 volumes, so 5 more to come. It's available here in the... Now, to start with, the obvious question, why did you decide to translate that too in English? And for whom?
Thank you. सुनाई दे रहा हूँ सबको? अच्छा. श्री गुरु चरण सरोज रज निज मन मुकुर सुधारी वरण और रघुबर विमल जसु जो दायक फलु चारि. पहले तो गुरु वंदना करना चाहिए ना. So but I will speak mainly in English for the international audience and also my mother tongue, of course. Thank you for that question. I never thought of myself as a literary translator, and some people here may know that I wrote a book called The Life of a Text, which is about the subject of Tulsi Ramayana, cultural history. I call it, in Hindi, I would call it a Granth Ka Jivan Charitra. It's a study of the life of the Ramcharitmanas over 400 years. And I did the research for that mainly in the early 1980s, mainly in UP, in Banaras, Ayodhya, Chitrakoot area. And at that time, I translated a few Panchasatta Chopai Manohar, a few verses here and there for the purpose of illustrating various things, but I certainly never thought of myself as undertaking a literary translation. And 2 things prompted me, well, let's say 3 things, okay. 3 things prompted me to want to do this. First, the fact that I don't care for most of the existing translations. Always one hopes that one can do a little better, Bhagavad Gita has more than 300 English translations, and people are still trying to get it right. And for such a great work as Ramcharitmanas, I think to have 10 translations is not too many. Second reason was the death of one of my teachers, A.K. Ramanujan, who was a wonderful mentor and guru to me and great inspiration and a great translator. Not from Hindi, but he was a great translator. And that inspired me to want to try my hand at translation. Mane, ab to Raman chale gaye hain, unke baad kya, kaun aayega. So it's like that. And the third thing was the opportunity to work with this particular series, the Murti Classical Library, because of Rohan Murti's generosity, this series has fantastic resources to work with. And they have put together a wonderful editorial team. And those of you who do publishing, whether academic or literary, you know that nowadays presses, they don't engage copy editors very much. You know, the author has to really do it herself or himself. It's very difficult to get good editorial support, which we all need, all writers need. No matter how good a writer you are, you need a good editor and a good copy editor. I had 2 editors for the English text. I had 2 copy editors for the Devanagari text. And they were wonderful and careful. So these books are brought out with a great deal of love and care. And the other thing that appealed to me was the fact that it's a dual language translation. So you have the Hindi, the Devanagari text on the left, and my free verse English translation on the right. And I was both attracted and frightened by that prospect. Frightened because as a translator I'm very exposed this way, but what to do? Yeah, thank you.
पर आपने अनुवाद ये किया किसके लिए?
किसके लिए? Okay, once more, if you don't mind, I think there are 3 answers to that question. 3 पाठक हैं.
तो सारी सुबह आप तिहाई में गुजारेंगे?
हाँ, ऐसे रामायणी लोग बहुत बोलते हैं जब points करते हैं कथा में, हाँ? और याद के लिए. So, yeah, so 3 kinds of readers I think this is for. First of all, if you are a Hindi speaking person, jinki matri bhasha Hindi hai, and if you can read the Manas easily and enjoy the Manas in its Avadhi Boli, then of course this is not for you. I mean, you don't need this. Kya zarurat hai? You know, it's not important. But I think I intended this for people whose primary language is English, and they would like to read one of the great masterpieces of pre-modern Indian literature in English, and to do a kind of a clear and simple modern English translation. That was my charge. That's what the Murti series asks for, and so I tried to do that. Second kind of reader is perhaps those who are being raised in English medium education in India. They know Hindi, but they don't necessarily know how to read the pre-modern literary languages, Avadhi, Braj Bhasha, etc. And so they can, of course, enjoy, to some extent, the original text, but they can also benefit from, you know, basically my tika, as it were, in English. And I guess the third kind of reader is myself. I did it for myself, as I think any writer or translator would do. And Tulsidas also has said, as you know, Swanta Sukhaya,
Raghunath Gatha,
Tulsi Raghunath Gatha, Bhasha Nibandha Ati Manjulamata Noti. And in his you know, his Mangalacharan.
Yes.
And my friend, my very dear friend and teacher in Banaras, Bhanuji, C.P.N. Singh used to say that he would, whenever people would say, oh, you know, he wrote the Manas for this reason and he wrote the Manas for that reason and he was advocating for this this siddhant, or he was advocating. He would say, no, he has said, I did it to please myself, for my own
it is
inner satisfaction.
all right for a pre-modern writer to claim from the housetop that I'm writing entirely for myself. Now today, if you say that, you will get any number of brickbats. How can you be writing for yourself? You have to write for this huge mass which is listening to you. You can't avoid them. But for Tulsidas, it was possible to say. But perhaps for great people, it's always possible to say.
No, but I said it last. That was tisra part.
Yes, go ahead.
Let me say a word in praise of the organizers and then 2 words in praise of my old friend Philip Lutgendorf. The organizers, because they could have scheduled this session in the Bathak or in Charbagh or the front lawns or wherever, but very aptly they have chosen to schedule this under the Mughal tent. How secular can we get?
And Tulsidas also wrote under the Mughal tent.
The other thing, as Philip has just said, Tulsidas wrote Ramcharitmanas metaphorically under the Mughal tent. When he completed it in 1574, Emperor Akbar had been on the throne for about 20 years. He was to rule for another 30 years. So very solidly in the heyday of the Mughal Empire, Tulsidas wrote it. One question to ask for many readers would be, does it reflect the fact? Does this high Hindu scriptural text in any way reflect the fact that it is written under Mughal rule? My own perception is that it does not directly. You will have to try very hard to see any shadow of what some people have called a Mlecha Krant Bharat, that there was foreign rule, rulers from another religion were ruling over it. No. Tulsi, he does not ignore it. He is operating at another level. And yet, in his life, this text was written mainly in Ayodhya and in Kashi, in Banaras. Ayodhya, perhaps more. And about his life in Ayodhya, Tulsidas, a sadhu, has written, not in the Ramcharitmanas, but in another work of his, he's described the kind of life he was leading when he was writing this. He was begging alms for food. Like a good sadhu, he had no possessions, he had no home. So every day he begged for food and he ate it in the day, and at night he went and slept in a masjid. Mang ke khaibo, masjid ko soibo. Masjid mane masjid. Now, if it is in Ayodhya, it must be the Baburi Masjid. The Baburi Masjid had come up 50 years before, 1574, in 1528. Wow. Now, for Tulsi, just as the Mughal Empire exists at some level remote from him, similarly, the Baburi Masjid does not impede his Ram Bhakti in any way, because for him it's still the Ram Janmasthal. It may have been demolished if it was there. There is a masjid there, but happily, merrily, without any qualms, he goes and sleeps at night in the Baburi Masjid. The complexity, the historical complexity of a text like Ramcharitmanas is evident from the very circumstances of its composition. It's not the Mughal rule, it's not the Mughal tent only, it is Valmiki and the tradition that follows from Valmiki of so many Ramayanas. Adhyatma Ramayana, for example, which is as much a source for this as the Valmiki Ramayana.
Yes.
More. As Philip was saying, Swantah Sukhaya, that shlok that he recited, it begins, Nana Purana Nigamagam Sammatam Yad Ramayane Nigaditam Kwachidanyatopi. After that, it comes to Swantah Sukhaya. पुराणों में, आगम में, निगम में, कई रामायणों में जो भी लिखा गया है वो सब लेते हुए और कुछ थोड़ा सा कहीं और से भी क्वचिद अन्यतोपि. दिस इज द हाइट ऑफ मॉडेस्टी. कहाँ से? यहाँ से, तुलसीदास के हृदय से, तुलसीदास के मस्तिष्क से. ये सब लेने के बाद कुछ अपना भी है उसमें, और वही इसको तुलसीदास का ग्रंथ बनाता है. तो एक तो ये, अब फिलिप हमारे दोस्त हैं 20 साल से, इन्होंने जो किताब लिखी लाइफ ऑफ ए टेक्स्ट, उसमें रामायण की कितनी महिमा है, खासकर परफॉर्मेंस में जो लीला होती है रामलीला, उसके बारे में है अधिकतर। रामनगर में, बनारस में गंगा के पार उधर रामनगर है जहाँ राजा रहते हैं, महाराजा रहते हैं, जहाँ किला है, और इधर तो रामनगर में महीने भर की रामलीला होती है। ये महीने भर सुबह नहा धो के स्वच्छ कपड़े पहनकर पूरे दिन देखते रहे, महीने भर, और उसका इन्होंने वर्णन किया है लाइफ ऑफ ए टेक्स्ट में। अद्भुत पुस्तक है वो मेरे पास आई रिव्यू करने को, तो मैंने जैसा स्वाभाविक था, जैसा उचित था, मैंने बहुत तारीफ की उसकी। बाद में मैंने एक बात कही, मैंने कहा अब तक इनको भी याद है, मुझे भी याद है, बाद में मैंने कहा कि ठीक है, लीला तो बहुत हो गई, टेक्स्ट कहाँ है? लाइफ ऑफ ए टेक्स्ट, परफॉर्मेंस तो बहुत है, कोई पढ़ते हुए तो नहीं दिखा इसमें, और पढ़ने की क्या महिमा है, पढ़ने से क्या समझ में आता है। तो अब 20 साल बाद रामचरितमानस का टेक्स्ट ये कर रहे हैं, परफॉर्मेंस तो हो गई, अब ये टेक्स्ट कर रहे हैं, उसका अनुवाद कर रहे हैं। और एक बात मैं और कहूँगा, ये शिकागो के पढ़े हुए हैं, मैं 2-3 बार गया हूँ शिकागो में, पढ़ाया है मैंने। एक बार मैं गया तो ये आयोवा से आए थे शिकागो, मैं शिकागो में ही रह रहा था, तो सुबह सुबह हम लोग मिले, एक नाश्ता किया साथ साथ एक वहाँ के रेस्टोरेंट में, फिर इनको आयोवा जाना था, मुझे पढ़ाने जाना था, तो हम लोग कार पार्क तक साथ साथ गए। कार पार्क में खड़े हैं, बात होती जा रही है, दोनों लोगों को देर हो रही है, साथ नहीं छूट रहा है, तरह तरह की बातें हो रही हैं। तो इनसे मैंने बाद में कहा उसको, मतलब कि अब खत्म किया जाए, रामायण की चौपाई गांव में निरक्षर लोग भी हर एक मौके पर एक सही चौपाई हरदम बोल सकते थे। तो उस प्रकार सभा समाप्त करते हुए कार पार्क वाली हमने इनसे कहा, हरि अनंत हरि कथा अनंता कि हरि अनंत है, हरि कथा अनंत है, हम लोगों की बातचीत अनंत है, और आप अपने दिल में टटोल के, मस्तिष्क में टटोल के देखिए कितनी लोग ये अर्धाली पूरी कर सकते हैं यहाँ। फिलिप ने छूटते ही कहा, कहें ही सुने ही बहुविधि सब संता। तो ये संत पुरुष हैं और बहुत अच्छा है कि ये कर रहे हैं।
तो मुझे अनुवाद के, आपने अपनी भूमिका में ये लिखा है कि देखने के तुलसीदास ने 14 शब्द इस्तेमाल किए और सुंदर के लिए 22 शब्द इस्तेमाल किए और कमल के लिए 29 शब्द इस्तेमाल किए। तो ये जो इतने शब्द एक ही क्रिया या एक ही गुण के लिए, इसको आपने अनुवाद में कैसे निपटाया है?
हाँ, तो let me rephrase that in English, or you could also.
Oh, no, please go ahead.
In the introduction, which is brief because it's part of the Murti program that the introductions not be voluminous and definitive and scholarly. It's intended for a broad audience. But I did write about a number of things, and if I could just follow up on something that Harishji said, one of the things I wrote about is I think there is influence of the Sufi Premakyans, the Avadi Sufi Premakyans, such as the Padmavat of Malik Muhammad Jayasi, on Tulsidas in various ways. But I just touch on that in the intro. In answering Ashokji's question, as he pointed out, I mentioned the what I call the asymmetry, the asamata? Vishamata. Between the vocabularies of English and Hindi. Both English and Hindi have vast vocabularies, but they're very asymmetrical. And they say that the Arabs have, 50 words for camel, well, the Indians have at least 29 or 30 words for kamal,
Yes.
lotus. Saroj, Pankaj, Jalaj,
Neeraj.
Rajiv, Neeraj, bahut sare hain. I've made a list from the Manas, and when you read most English translations, what you find is Ram looked through his lotus eyes, and then with his lotus lips, and raising his lotus hand, and falling at his lotus feet. And I don't think that sounds good in English. We don't talk about feet as lotuses. And, you could argue that I should keep it very foreign, but in many cases I just said lovely, lovely feet, or something like that. And I use lotus now and then when I think it's appropriate, but we only have one word in English, one word, because a water lily is a different plant.
Yeah.
It's a different family. So rather than just have the text be lotus, 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 it makes it, to the English ear, it sounds very saccharine, very syrupy,
Sugary.
And sugary. And it doesn't sound good. And that's not the way the Manas sounds when, in Hindi. The Manas has this wonderful musical momentum. And that is the one thing that I've tried to preserve, is what I call gati, some kind of a sense of the gati, the momentum of the text. I can't do rhyme, I can't do, a precise meter, but I've tried to keep some gati. And same thing with words for lovely and beautiful. We have a few, and I've used them.
Yes,
and for to see, to gaze at, to look at, to observe. We have some choices, but we don't have as many. Yeah. And of course, the Manas is all about darshan. It's all about having darshan of Ram and Sita and how beautiful they are. There are six Nakashika passages in Balkand alone of Ram. So, yeah.
The other thing that combines with the Mughal tent is the fact that Ramcharitmanas uses nearly 1,000 words of Arabic and Persian origin. So the language is already in that tent, in a manner of speaking. Awadhi is freely...
He uses more Perso-Arabic words than Jayasi.
Yes, that's
because Jayasi deliberately avoids them as part of his kind of Sanskritic performance. And Tulsidas has no hesitation in saying, Gai bahor garib nevaju, saral garib nevaju, Ram ko kehte hain. Gai bahor garib nevaju, saral sabala sahib raghu Raghu ko sahib kehte hain.
ये राजस्थान में लोग सोचते होंगे कि अजमेर शरीफ में ही गरीब निवाज हैं। रामायण में भी हैं। उन्हीं के नाम से ट्रेन चल रही है।
Another point that you have made in your introduction is about how Tulsidas brought together the Sagun Nirgun concepts of bhakti together in the character of Ram. Now, would you like to elaborate that? Because you said that Murti introductions are not very elaborate, so you have just stated it. But how? Because normally, conventionally, Tulsidas को तो सगुण भक्त मानते हैं और कबीर और दूसरों को निर्गुण. तो ये कैसे?
Well, that's of course where Balkand is so important, because Tulsidas's Balkand is the biggest book. सबसे बड़ा कांड है रामचरितमानस में, लगभग 1/3 है, 1/3, almost 1/3 of the entire epic. And that's why it's had to come out in two books in the Murti format. But the first half of Balkand is what I am calling the prologue. It's a prastavana, do shabd, except it goes on for 190 stanzas, And within that, he puts forward his view on Nirgun Sagun and being the same. And he's very clear about it. Just a few lines I will read. I was only this morning reading this. This is the Nam Vandana, very early in 19th stanza of Balkand. Vando Nam Ram Raghubarako Hetu Krisanu Bhanu Himakarako Bidhi Hari Haramaya Beda Pranaso Aguna Anupama Guna Nidhanaso Aguna Anupama Guna Nidhanaso. It's the incomparable, formless, but it's also the treasury qualities and forms.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the name, all in the name. Maha mantra joi japata mahesu kasi mukti hetu upadesu. And so on. It continues like that. So that's my response on that.
You know, the way you read it, I'm reminded of an incident many years ago when we were celebrating 400 years of Ramcharitmanas. You know, there was a huge celebration in the whole of North India, and many classical dancers had composed, choreographed new pieces based on the verses from Ramcharitmanas. One of them was Sonal Mansingh.
Yeah.
And what she did was, she was choosing the same
Passage.
the same way of reciting. So when she performed her Odissi or Bharatnatyam, the verses were read in the conventional way in which they are read in North India, just now as you did it. I sent her to Tikamgarh. And Tikamgarh doesn't even have a railhead, even now. So in Tikamgarh, she went, and 2 days later, I got a phone call. And I was getting worried because, you know, what used to happen that these places which didn't have facilities, so they might have taken her in an open jeep from Satna and things of that kind, you know, complained that the mic did not work or she was not lodged in a proper room and things of that
And of
kind.
course, making a phone call in 1974 was also no joke.
Yeah. So she rang up and she said, I had the most exhilarating experience of my life in Tikamgarh. So I said, how? She said, when my musicians started singing the verses in the conventional way, the 5,000 strong audience started singing with them. So I was dancing to more than 5,000 persons singing for me. Now this is again an evidence of the life of a text, that how it exists in popular imagination, not merely quoting and all, but also remembering. You know, as a young child, I became much worse, of course, like most of us, but quite innocent. And I had, my grandfather, my Nana, was a great devotee of Ramcharitmanas. And he used to do Akhand Path, which means 9 hours of reading Ramcharitmanas without a break. So I dared to accompany him once. And I didn't understand, of course, a word, but he kept on doing like that. For 9 hours, that was one. My mother was a very religious person, but she had no god or a statue to worship. She had a copy of the Ramcharitmanas. And every day, by way of puja, she would recite 1 or 2 pages. So her Ramcharitmanas was this thick, not because the paper was thick, because every page had akshat and chandan on it. So here is an epic. I don't think Valmiki's Ramayana ever got that kind of a popularity. Although it's a great work and it is the original work in a sense, but it never got the kind of popularity and the kind of esteem in which the popular, imagination held it in practice also.
And therefore, a question arises from that. You know what worries me? One of my main worries about the cultural change that we are witnessing. In Tikamgarh, you may still find 5,000 people. In Jaipur and in Delhi,
you will not.
How many people will you find? The audience that we are addressing here is not untypical. These are the 300 million members of our rising middle class. For them, it seems to me that a recovery of the central place that the Ramcharitmanas occupied in our life, not only religious life, but cultural life, literary life, this recovery has now to be attempted. The Ramakatha and the figure of Ram has gone through many vicissitudes. Some of them political, and some of them to do with the spread of Western culture and a Western language. There was a time, as you say, when even illiterates in the villages could quote endless chaupais from Ramcharitmanas, each suitable for that occasion. But I'm afraid that ground has now been eroded substantially. And it seems to me there are 2 or 3 factors here to take into account. There has also been an erosion of religion, both in the West and here. More in the West than here. Maybe we'll catch up someday. One great comparison by George Grierson of the Ramcharitmanas is that it is, or when he wrote in the 19th century, it was the Bible of North India. That's what he said. The Bible is not very often read these days by many people in the West, and the similar fate is beginning to overtake the Ramcharitmanas. Let us acknowledge this. And let us also clarify, we'll come to Philip who can say it better. I'm trying to formulate an issue for him to address. There are 2 things, 2 aspects of the recovery of Ramcharitmanas that I wish to underline for him to comment on. One is, it's not only about Rama. It's not only an epic. Hindi has 5 epics in the very early centuries of its development, one by Jayasi, 3 other Premakyan. The 5th one is Ramcharitmanas. It's not the earliest. So all of them are high poetic compositions. But in common consensus, in everybody's opinion, who knows Hindi literature, this is the greatest poem ever written in Hindi, from the beginning up to now. Will we let this poetry go? Will we not read it? Will we not continue to read it? Will we not read it, if not for religion, at least for the poetry, at least for the literary content and value? That's one thing. And the other issue that also, after that I'll fall silent and you can address it at length. The other issue that worries me is what has happened to the hero of this epic. And this is a semi-religious issue. It's not a poetic issue. It's a cultural issue. It's not even religious. In 1992, after the Babri Masjid episode, Kafi Azmi wrote a wonderful verse. Rajdhani ki fiza aayi nahi ras tumhe. He's addressing Ram. Rajdhani ki fiza, the atmosphere of the capital, when or the state, the affairs of the political state. That's what he means. Rajdhani ki fiza aayi nahi ras tumhe. 6 December ko mila dusra vanvas tumhe. That's what Kafi Azmi wrote. On the 6th December, with the fall of the Babri Masjid, Ram was banished all over again into the forest. This is what has happened. Ram has been abducted from our life. When Sita was abducted, रामचंद्र जी ने जमीन आसमान एक कर दिया, भालू बंदर गिलहरी सब शामिल हुए और लड़के सीता जी को वापस लाए. आप हमारी दशा देखिए, राम को लोग ले गए उठा के, राम का एब्डक्शन हो गया, अपहरण हो गया, सब लोग देखते रहे, जिनको बुरा लगा जिनको नहीं बुरा लगा सब लोग देखते रहे. और हम लोगों ने 1992 से अब तक कुछ नहीं किया कि हम राम को वापस लाएं. हमारे जीवन में राम का भी उतना बड़ा स्थान है, हम उनको किस तरह वापस लाएंगे? राम को हम जाने नहीं दे सकते कि एक विचारधारा है, एक प्रकार के लोग हैं, वो राम को ले जाएं. और राम के इसमें क्या दोष है? 1952 में जो हुआ वो राम का दोष है ना, किसी और का दोष है. और हम लोग जो उनकी तरह नहीं है, जो उनकी तरह नहीं सोचते, हम लोग जो अलग तरह से सोचते हैं, ये हमारा कर्तव्य है कि उनको हम न ले जाने दें राम को. हम न कहने दें उनको कि राम सिर्फ हमारे हैं, हम सबके हैं, ये हम बार बार कहें. तो राम के अपहरण से जो ले गए हैं कुछ लोग, उनसे हम राम को वापस लाएं. राम सिर्फ धार्मिक नहीं है, राम महापुरुष हैं, तरह तरह के मर्यादा पुरुष हैं, वो मर्यादा अब भी कायम है. और राम का जो यहाँ पर काव्यात्मक वर्णन है वो तो अलग ही बात है, राम का, सीता का. तो हम सबके राम दोबारा हों, अपने अपने राम हमारे पास वापस आए, ये कैसे होगा? ये अंग्रेजी अनुवाद से होगा. आप लोग अंग्रेजी अनुवाद पढ़ें, वही ज्यादा अच्छा है. अवधि तो थोड़ी पुरानी भाषा हो गई है. तो ये फिलिप ने, A.K. रामानुजन का इन्होंने नाम लिया, इनके गुरुवत थे, गुरु तो शायद नहीं थे, गुरुवत थे इनके. A.K. रामानुजन ने कहा कि इन इंडिया nobody reads the Ramayana and the Mahabharata for the first time. बिना पढ़े घुट्टी में अशोक जी को मिली है, हमको मिली है। माँ पढ़ती थी तो हम लोग भी सब सोचते हैं कि हमको भी आती है। आप लोगों में से कई का यही हाल होगा, माँ पढ़ती थी, दादी पढ़ती थी, आप हम नहीं पढ़ते हैं, हम नहीं पढ़ते हैं। तो मैंने रामानुजन से एक बार पूछा, वो आए थे दिल्ली हमारे विभाग में, अंग्रेजी विभाग में, हमने उनसे कहा, हाउ मेनी पीपल डू यू नो इन इंडिया हु रीड द रामायण एंड द महाभारत इवन फॉर द सेकेंड टाइम? मान देते हैं कि हमको आता है। तो ये जो है, इसको हम जाने न दें, इसको हम सब लोग अपना बनाएं, और ये जो है, ये जो संस्करण है बहुत सुंदर है। दिस एडिशन, as Philip showed you physically, has Avadhi on the left hand and English on the right hand, and very elegant, non-archaic, contemporary English. Read the English, and if you like, look on the left-hand page, and your Hindi and your Avadhi will be enhanced, din duni, raat chauguni. So it's a wonderful text for you to pick up.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
you want to add to it?
Yeah, I would like to respond to especially the first part of your remarks. The second part, I'm completely sehmat with you on that, and I don't think I can add much. But regarding the first part, if we look at this Murti library as a project more broadly, not just Tulsidas, you know, thanks to the generosity of Rohan Murthy, this series theoretically is supposed to go on forever.
500 volumes.
Well, the model for it is the Loeb Classical
That's
Library
right.
of Latin and Greek, which now has more than 500 volumes in print, and they stay in print. And they're inexpensive, and they're you know, a uniform format and affordable and very nice. So that's the model for this, and that was his intention. And you know, some of you may have seen the interviews that Rohanji gave last year, including here, and I was very touched by them. He was doing a PhD in computer science at Harvard, but he's a very intelligent young man. And he had a free period every semester. And so he took classes with some of the great scholars at Harvard who teach about India. And he took classes on Indian literature. He took classes on Indian philosophy. He took classes on the history of Indian religion. And he read for the first time in his life, you know, Vedanta and Darshana and Alankara Shastras and even, you know, political treatises from ancient India. And he said, my God, there was all this brilliant intellectual culture, and I never learned about it growing up. Why did I never learn about any of this? Why did I have to come to USA, Cambridge, Massachusetts, to learn about these wonderful traditions in my own culture? That was what gave him the prerna, the inspiration for this series. Was to make these texts available cheaply, and they're subsidized, you know. You'll see how inexpensive, especially the paperback is. It's very inexpensive. And to make them available so that people can discover the texts again. I'm not trying to, as far as, you know, what you said about people can't read or understand Tulsidas, it's true. But then again, there are many Jaipurs also. अगर हम गोविंद देव जी जाएं, तो मेरे ख्याल से वहाँ के लोग सतपंच चौपाई मनोहर जरूर गा सकते हैं, सुना सकते हैं. But yeah, it's true. And those who are educated even in just Kariboli Hindi, and especially English medium schools, they may find the Avadi quite difficult. There's no doubt about it. I've seen this many times. And I'm not trying to revive it, you know. Texts have lives, they also have deaths.
Yep.
And, you know, they decline in importance with time. I don't know if that will happen to the Manas or not, but it is an important text, and it is also a text that is full of interesting ideas. Tulsidas is a very interesting personality, and particularly in Balkand, where he's speaking in his own voice. Before the other narrators come in.
But
Shiva,
you know, Tulsidas has been attacked for being casteist. He praises the Brahmins in a...
That's the Brahmin speaking.
he praises...
And I'm pointing it out.
Another Brahmin. Now,
Trivedi hai, Vajpeyi hai,
and incidentally,
Malech.
Vajpeyi must have been particularly hostile to Tulsidas because they thought themselves to be the custodians of knowledge, or what you have, wisdom, and they must have found it extremely embarrassing or perhaps disturbing that a great Sanskrit classic is now being written in a dialect, Avadhi. So instead of great Sanskrit being spoken by Ram and whoever, they are going to speak in Avadhi, which is like the language next door. So the entire heroism and the, Grameen and all that, so the great heroic halo is going to be reduced to a lamp in the kutia. So Tulsidas, I am told, I have not, Nambaji once told me, has, तुलसीदास तो खल वंदना भी करते हैं, शुरू में ही दुष्टों की भी वंदना करते हैं, यानी देवताओं की, इनकी, उनकी, वेद पुराण की, सबकी, और फिर दुष्टों की भी वंदना, खल वंदना करते हैं. I know of no other poet who जिसने दुष्टों की भी वंदना की हो. हम लोग तो ज़्यादातर दुष्टों की निंदा ही करते हैं. पर बहरहाल उसके बाद तुलसीदास ने कहीं पर वाजपेयियों की नाम लेकर निंदा की. तो एक बार मैंने अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी जो प्रधानमंत्री थे, एक फंक्शन में हम लोग अगल बगल बैठे थे, तो मैंने उनसे कहा कि आपको तो पता ही होगा कि वाजपेयी बहुत अहंकारी होते हैं. तो उन्होंने मेरी ओर देखा, फिर मैंने कहा नहीं, कुछ कुछ प्रतिभाशाली भी होते हैं. तो वो कहने लगे कि आप क्या पहेली बुझा रहे हैं. मैंने कहा पहेली नहीं बुझा रहा हूं, मैं अहंकारी, आप प्रतिभाशाली. तो बहरहाल, लेकिन जो बात मैं कह रहा था कि संस्कृत का बहुत अधिक प्रभाव है तुलसीदास पर. सीय रूप किमि जाय बखानी, गिरा अनयन नयन बिन बानी. तो ये कि जीभ के पास आंखें नहीं हैं और आंखों के पास जीभ नहीं है, तो सीता का रूप कैसे बखान करें, क्योंकि सीय रूप किमि जाय बखानी, यहां तक तो अवधि है, पर गिरा अनयन शुद्ध संस्कृत है, नयन बिन बानी, ये फिर अवधि है. तो संस्कृत को अवधि में जीवित करना और संस्कृत की स्मृति को, उसके उत्तराधिकार को, keep on that inheritance alive in the poetic mode is itself a great phenomena. And mind you, I sometimes think that the North Indian cultural mind has been colonized by two great poets, by Tulsidas and by Kabir. And they are two different, very different poets. But if you find amongst the, there was a survey conducted, we say there are 6 crore Kabir Panthis in India and Pakistan. 6 crore. And they all fight between themselves, like either all Panthis fight. So this is nothing new about them, but they have different views of Kabir, etc. And Tulsidas, you see, to exist as a great poet on your own terms, on the best standards of poetry, whatever you want, and yet to be popular. It puts poets like us, हम साले दुम छल्ले लगते हैं, हमारी क्या वक़्त है, to this height that he is great and he is popular. We now have this other aspect in culture where the popular and the significant have parted company. So what is popular is hardly ever significant, and what is significant is hardly ever popular.
But you were pretty popular.
I'm not.
No. About the popular, I'll say just one word before Philip responds. There is a popular Ramkatha story being sold now. It's by Amish Tripathi. It's called The Sayan Vikshwaku. After the Meluha series, now he's taken up Ramchandra. In the Sayan Vikshwaku, everybody has read it. My question is, if that can sell 1 million or 2 million copies, why cannot this sell 500,000 copies?
Yes.
It's a similar price. in the Sayana-Bhikshaku, there are people buying that. Ram is the deputy chief of police in Ayodhya, and Sita is the prime minister in Mithila. And before the Swayamvar, Sita goes to Ram secretly and tries to rig the breaking of the Shiva's bow to fix the match. Is that what we want to read in 1 million copies? And is this not what we want to read even in 500,000 copies? Please begin a movement for reading all this.
You see, reading in India and cultural illiteracy in India seem to be working in tandem. See, the more you read, the more culturally literate you are likely to be, unless you make some special effort to retrieve your own inheritance and to restore to yourself what is legitimately yours for centuries.
Have the last word.
Have the last word, then we open it to...
Okay. Well, no, again, I'm much in agreement with what you say. I'm also a student of popular culture. Some of you may know I write on Hindi cinema. I have a website devoted to...
You even mentioned that how
so-called
Bollywood has been influenced by Ramcharitmanas.
No, I said that Ram and Sita's wedding is kind of the original Bollywood wedding. You know, it goes on for much of the second volume of my, the second half of the introduction, of Balkan. No, I just wanted to add to what you said about Kabir. You know, there is a concert tonight in conjunction with the JLF by a wonderful singer named Mukhtiar Ali from Jaisalmer area.
Ajmer.
No, I think Jaisalmer he comes from.
Jaisalmer. Bikaner, sorry.
Bikaner, sorry.
Yeah,
Bikaner wale.
Bikaner, yes.
And he is a wonderful singer who sings Sufi music. He sings Kabir wonderfully. He sings Mirabai wonderfully. And this kind of sangam that you find in Rajasthan, and we still, thank goodness, we find a good deal throughout North India. Thank heavens.
You know, Kumar Gandharv used to sing a Kabir bhajan, which came from the popular tradition, not from the Bijak, which used to say, Guruji, jahan baithu wahan chhaya ji. Guru, wherever I sit, wahan chhaya hai. There is a shadow. Shadow of what? The Guru. Of the Guru. तो उत्तर भारत में आप जहां भी बैठे वहां आप पर दो छायाएं हैं, तुलसीदास की और कबीर की. अब आपको अगर छाया का पता ही नहीं है तो खुदा के लिए कुछ पता करिए. ऐसा भी क्या है?
So let me just briefly respond to your earlier point about what is sometimes called Brahmanvad.
Yes.
In the Manas.
Misogynist. He is very much against women.
There's that too. And all of this has been the subject of a great deal of writing, to which I briefly refer in the preface, in the introduction. And again, I don't try to elaborate very much on that. I hope that the translation will speak for itself. I hope that people will make their own judgments about Tulsidas's views on various subjects, on caste, on gender, on society. But since you're asking me to end, I will let him have the last word. And this is from Uttarakhand. And this is Ramji giving Upadesh to Bharatji, which I think we can consider fairly authoritative. Some of the more nasty comments about women are made by other characters in the
they're
book.
in character.
And some of the caste comments also. But this is Ramji speaking, and he says, Parahita sarisa dharma nahi bhai. Parahita sarisa dharma nahi bhai. There is no dharma like doing the welfare of others. There is no dharma, and these days we understand dharma often to mean religion. There is no religion equal to doing good to others. Parahita sarasa dharma nahi bhai, which is basically the golden rule, as they say in the West. Parapira sama nahi adhamai.
दूसरे को पीड़ित करना.
There is no vileness, baseness, lowness, like causing pain to another.
Yes.
Yeah. So I like to think of that as a kind of upadesh.
You know, when Ram takes over in Ayodhya and firmly in his seat on his Singhasan, etc., he addresses the citizens. And he says, if you ever think that I'm committed doing something unethical, aniti, then मेरे भाई बिना डर के हमको बरजना. ये राजा कह रहा है प्रजा से, नागरिकों से, कि अगर तुमको लगे कि मैं अनीति कर रहा हूं तो बिना भय के हमको बरजना. तो there is a lot in our tradition by which we can resurrect some of the lost wisdom and some of the lost knowledge. Anyway, now is the time for the audience to ask questions. Let the questions be brief. Don't give your opinion. Opinions have been given already, or whatever they are.
Pura Ramayan nahi.
Yes, yes. And the lady here, please raise your hand again.
Yeah.
Sir.
My question is this, why is it that the great legendary characters like Ram has to become Rama and Krishna has to become Krishna, and the great tradition of yoga has to become yoga, to cross borders and become internationalized?
Oh, that's a simple, that has to do with the fact that these terms originally were translated from Sanskrit, and in Sanskrit you pronounce the final a generally. And even in Tulsidas, for metrical purposes, we say Rama.
Abhirama.
Vando Nama Rama. That's just a matter of pronunciation, but I don't do that in the book. I say Ram.
Not Rama.
R-A-M. Bas. Okay.
Yes, the lady.
Hello, you hear me?
Yeah, please.
I'm wondering, given the way this conversation's gone, are we looking at least a hope of a recovery of a tradition of poetry? Because Ramayan Padhana, Ramayan Gana, it's a leisurely activity which has been associated with religion, but we are talking about a tradition of living with poetry.
That's right.
And then sort of regretting that there is a Ram that polarizes and has been politicized and has become a shorthand for our religious aspirations.
Very good. Very good.
Are we looking at least a hope for some kind of recovery of a poetry, of a tradition of poetry?
Yes.
In the vernacular? Is that
Yes.
Well, I'm an optimistic person, you know. The glass is half full rather than half empty. But I don't dare to make such hopes about my little effort here.
No, here, Shail Mayaram.
I do want to say one thing. When I was doing my field work in the early 80s, and I've written a lot about this in the book Life of a Text, the Ramayana was as much about entertainment and family interaction for a lot of people as it was about some sort of religious, holy thing. And some of my friends in Benares, they would debate the Ramayana furiously within the family, and they would say, you know, Ramji was not right in doing such and such, you know. And I love the statement that one elderly man made to me. He said, you know, he was a Ram Bhakta, and this was in a temple, and he said, you know, my Ram Bhakta hoon, I love Ram, he's my Ishta Deva, but I can never forgive him for what he did to Sita.
Yes, that's...
In a tradition that is so udar that somebody can say something like that.
And yet remain a Ram Bhakta.
And yet remain a Ram Bhakta. That I appreciate.
Yes, Shail Mayaram.
आप तीनों को रस की उत्पत्ति के लिए बहुत बधाई. And also for making this session a truly trilingual one.
Yeah.
दो सवाल हैं मेरे. एक तो लड़ाई है हरीश भाई से, which is when you stated that at the end of your review, you said that you could not find the text. I work on oral traditions, and I have a different notion of a text. From the point of view of cultural performance, each performance is a text. So there's two different notions of textuality there.
Yep.
The second question I had, which is to Ashok ji and Philip bhai, which is, that on the one hand you have the Mughal Empire, but on the other you have the empire of the Manas Katha. So that even in the Vajpeyi household, which might be Brahminical, the Manas Katha comes into the kitchen, right? Which is why your mother and your grandmother, in a sense, is performed by them. And that's really the, you know, that's far more truly an empire of the people, from the people.
Well,
Yeah, very briefly, you know, that's the question. I totally agree with you. In the postmodernist, post-structuralist sense of Roland Barthes, everything is the text. Your utterance is the text, your question is the text, my response is the text. So there is that larger meaning of the text, and the text when performed does not cease to become a text. I totally agree with you. And there are some texts which are only available in performance. They have not been written down. They're oral texts, the kind of thing you have worked on. Yes, I totally agree with that. But in the case of Ramcharitmanas, which assumes life not in orality, but as a written text, as a deliberately written text out of scholarship and out of originality of imagination, I think we can distinguish between a text and a performance.
and to the other question.
Philip also has to answer.
No, please go ahead.
Well, I mean, my book is precisely about that. It's about how does a big text, you know, an epic, come to be the most important text in a culture in which the majority of people can't read.
Yeah.
At that time, it was a minuscule percentage of people who could read. So that's what the life of a text is all about. It was all about performance. So I'm very much in sympathy with your point.
You know, I became a poet of some sort, and I think one of the reasons I became poet unconsciously must have been the fact that my mother revered poetry. That poetry was the god in our house. And therefore, I became whatever kind of poet I became. So Tulsidas has many sins to his credit. Yes, there's the lady.
My question is to the entire panel there. Sitting in Professor Trivedi's MPhil seminars, we were told categorically to resist the urge to anachronistically apply political correctness to the text. But how do we see that, you know, on one hand there is this caste and gender and all those problems in Tulsidas, but on the other hand, we have Bhavabhuti's Uttar Ramcharitam, which beautifully tackles these uncomfortable aspects of Ramchandra's life and does it so sympathetically. How do we see Tulsidas's resistance to that, you know, the kind of political correctness that existed before him, the tradition which was existing before him?
I don't know whether it was political correctness, but let me point out, in Bhavabhuti, Ram suffers from a deep sense of doubt at what he has done. So when he relinquishes Sita to Valmiki's ashram, he finds his hand later shivering. And he addresses that hand, that now that you are abandoning Sita, you are shivering. Why didn't you shiver when I killed the innocent Shambhuk? So already within the Ram Katha tradition, there are elements which do raise questions about Ramhood in a certain sense. And later in Hindi you have Maitrishan Gup's Urmila, a whole Saket, I mean the whole, again an epic in which what was meted out to those who one never hears about what happened to Urmila. I mean, Lakshman went away and leaving Urmila behind, whatever happened to her, etc. So, but these are all part, you know, when you question a tradition, you are enhancing it, you are deepening it. Any tradition which is not open to question is not worth following. No, I don't know how much time we have.
I don't think we are left with
We
any
don't have time. So,
I'm so sorry, his time is
thank
out.
you very much for
Thank
being
you
there.
so very
Thank
much.
you.